So after the Flood have officially been announced to return to the Halo games by the way of Halo Wars 2 DLC, there has been varying opinions. Some people are like, yes! Yes! Oh gosh, yes! Flood tentacles, come inside me! While others are very unhappy with the Flood's return because they didn't enjoy fighting them in the previous Halo games. Some people found them to be the worst part of the original Halo trilogy, and I understand that. I do feel like some of the worst levels in the Halo franchise featured the Flood, which probably left a bad impression on them in general. But 3 mainline Halo games have released since they were last present, so if they are to come in Halo 6, could they be made better? Personally, I thought the Flood were at their best in Halo 3, as they were easy to mow down and break into pieces, but were also intense and terrifying. In Halo 1 and 2, they were a bit more frustrating, as you couldn't really melee them unless you had an energy sword, and that just sucked. But if 343 went with the Flood from Halo 3 and added some new variants, made the awesome level design, and populated the maps with hordes of Flood, how could that not be awesome? I think the Flood, if done right, can not only improve Halo 6, but make it the best game in the trilogy. What I personally love about the Flood was that they changed up the gameplay. In Halo Combat Evolved, you grew so used to approaching every battle against the Covenant the same way, but halfway through, you were suddenly pitted against something completely new and different. It turned the tactical and more thought-provoking gameplay into a sudden adrenaline rush with tons of Flood coming at you from every direction. And pretty much every Halo in the original trilogy followed this idea and was more or less successful with it. The recent Halos, however, lack this change in gameplay. You could say the Prometheans are a replacement for them, but I think pretty much everyone agrees that the Prometheans are abhorrently boring to fight. I never felt bored by the Flood though, especially when the level design and atmosphere was done correctly. Take Floodgate for example, which is probably my favorite level that exclusively features the Flood. The art, the music, the gameplay, it was all perfect. You were watching your own team members get gruesomely infected by the spores or just go flat out insane. Fog covered the environments, giving it an apocalyptic feel, and eerie music played in the background as Flood rushed you. What makes it better is that you pretty much went through this environment on the Storm, and you got to see just how different it was when the Flood was thrown into the mix. Another level that did this extremely well was the Arbiter, which is among my favorite levels in Halo 2. You are on the hunt for a heretic at an enemy base when suddenly you are fighting through an ominous infection. Imagine if Halo 6 did this and did it well throughout the whole game. It would be awesome and help the game from going stale. So no, I don't think the Flood's inclusion by itself will destroy Halo 6. I do, however, have my concerns. Given that 343 doesn't have a great track record of making good changes to the Halo franchise, they might turn the Flood into a completely unrecognizable force that lacks any of the charm of the originals. I do think changes need to be made to the Flood to bring them over to Halo 6 in an awesome way, but I'm skeptical of how 343 might handle this. On top of that, 343 is struggling with making the Prometheans a faction fans want to fight against. In fact, they are struggling with appeasing fans when it comes to the Covenant themselves. Although I will add, people seem to be quite happy with the Banished, and I think it's safe to assume they'll make an appearance in Halo 6. It does seem like 343 is learning from fans when it comes to keeping the iconic Halo designs in place, so I'm hopeful we won't see any giant tumors walking around calling themselves the Flood. But this is all given that the Flood are in Halo 6 at all, which I do presume they will be. So, will the Flood ruin Halo 6? No, probably not, but Halo 6 could possibly ruin them. But what do you think? Do you agree with me? Or do you think the Flood would be disastrous for Halo 6? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked what you've seen here and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe.